here. We're here.
Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today on Hercules and the Space Gods, we will explore the mystery of the Pleiadians. Now, the Pleiadians are of interest to me because they tie into Greek mythology directly and indirectly. Directly, they were the daughters of Atlas, and they were in this constellation in the sky, and the ancients put all their occult knowledge in the sky, and the seven sisters, who are daughters of Atlas, have ties to Atlantis and Atlantean lore. Atlas himself is a bright star very near his daughters. And more recently, Pleiadians have been claiming through their channelers that they were the gods of ancient Greece and took advantage of local inhabitants by playing the god game and regretted it and are now here to make up for that chicanery by being helpful as guides. So I'm interested and I'm exploring that right now. And we have with us great explorers into the unknown and celestial mysteries. We have Tim Swartz. We have Paul
Hi.
Roberts. We have Olav Phillips. We have Khamuast of Kemet. And we
Hello,
have
everybody.
Dunkin. Greetings, everybody. How are you?
So far, so good.
I'm glad. May you remain good throughout our entire adventure together.
As Elaine Stritch would say, I'm still here.
I'm glad. And we will start as we always start with Tim Swartz, who lays the foundation for our discussions and gives us a grand overview of the topic.
Why, thank you, Hercules. As always, it's a great pleasure to be talking with everyone tonight. And as you said, our subject is the Pleiadians. Now, I'll start out with a little astronomy. Because the Pleiades is a star cluster that is located in the constellation of Taurus, and it's the Pleiades is about 450 light years away from our solar system. And it's actually it's one of the nearest star clusters to Earth, which really goes to show you, what a backwoods neighborhood our solar system is. If 450 light years is considered to be a close neighbor. On a clear night, you can see, especially in the winter time, in the northern hemisphere, you can see the Pleiades with your own eyes. And astronomers say that it has approximately 1,000 stars, of which, with your naked eye, we could see 6. Even though, as you pointed out, Hercules, it's been referred to as the Seven Sisters. And throughout history, all across the planet, people have said that there were 7 stars in the Pleiades, which made people think that, either people had better eyesight back in the day, or else the 7th brightest star may have actually have been brighter at one time. It could have been considered a I can't think of the name of it now, but basically a star that varies its brightness from period to period, and now it's on a low swing, so we really can't see it from Earth. But yeah, I mean, as you said, Hercules, in Greek mythology, the Pleiades were called the Seven Sisters of the Titan Atlas. And among various Native American nations, people from the Pleiades were often referred to as sky people or star people. These extraterrestrials are perhaps are acknowledged by many indigenous people as relatives to humans or even ancestors. Now, the Hopis say that their first home was in the Pleiades, and they refer to it as, and I'm never going to be able to pronounce this correctly, the Chulukan. So that's and if you go all across the planet, you'll find all kinds of different references to the seven stars, seven brothers, seven sisters, seven wives. It's really amazing how similar these stories are all across different societies and different eras. Um, Now, one of the interesting thing about the Palladians, I take that back. What is the most interesting thing about the Pleiades star cluster is how young they are compared to the Earth. It's estimated that they formed within the last 100 million years. And at that time, there were dinosaurs on Earth. So the Earth and our solar system is much older than the Pleiades, which is interesting considering the ideas that have been formulated within various kinds of, especially UFO mythology, that the Pleiadians are much older than we are. Now, I suppose they could be much older than humanity, but as for our solar system, they're infants. We're the old grizzled adults compared to the Palladian star system. Now, the Palladians themselves, the alleged extraterrestrials, begin to be associated with UFOs probably in the 1950s. Now, of course, we saw um, the contactee movement, which involved the friendly space brothers who claimed to be from planets within our own solar system that looked remarkably like what the descriptions you now see for the Pleiadians, the Nordic types, as they're called, tall, blonde hair, blue eyes, extremely beautiful. I mean, just like supermodel beautiful. They can pass as humans, but because of their beauty and allegedly the way that their souls radiate outwards, they just stand out among everyone else. Uh, but in the 1950s, many contactees, especially in Europe, claimed encounters with beings who claimed to be from the Pleiades. Now, again, remember, the Pleiades is a star cluster of about 1,000 stars. So, I mean, it could be from, if these reports are accurate. And again, I have to warn everybody that information that has been given to us through the years from alleged UFO occupants have tended not to stand up over time. So just because beings may be claiming that they're from the Pleiadians, we have to, take it with a grain of salt. Because allegedly we have all kinds of different extraterrestrial races visiting us for Earth. You have the Assyrians, the Arcturians, the Orions. The names go on and on. Each one supposedly has their own different types of characteristics, personality types, whether or not they are friendly or not so friendly to those of us here on Earth. So I think that probably one of the most well-known supposed contactees with the Palladians would be Billy Myers, the Swiss farmer who came out with just a ton of UFO videos and claims of contacts with these beings. And it goes back and forth. There are people who just absolutely believe everything that Billy Myers says, and then there are others who point to some visual difficulties with his photographs. And I'm not going to say either way. You would just have to do your own research. But Billy Myers definitely, I think, was the first one to really bring attention to the whole idea of Palladian extraterrestrials. Now, you also have the Ashtar group, or as some people call it, the Ashtar mythology, which initially emerged from the I Am movement, and it incorporated the concept of extraterrestrial celebrity, so to speak, who is said to be an ascended master from the Pleiades. So the Palladian Nordics are a prominent feature now in contemporary UFO and New Age literature, and it's often associated with peace, harmony, spiritual guidance. Some of the groups say that our spiritual uplifting here on planet Earth is the result of interventions from the Palladians. And there's also the concept that that humans in one way or another are related to the Palladians, because really the concept of other species evolving on other planets throughout the galaxy that look so much like us are pretty small. Yeah, unless everything that we know about life and evolutionary distinctions is completely wrong. So there's a possibility that the Palladians and other human-looking extraterrestrials are related to us. That maybe we were either brought here or were genetically manipulated in order to adapt for life on planet Earth. And in fact, some of these contactees have gone right out and said that the Palladians had admitted that we were like a lost colony that had only been recently rediscovered, and now they're trying to catch up, for this lost time. Um, uh, there was also quite a bit of interest with the Pleiades star cluster in Central and South America, with the legends of the Incas and the Aztecs and the Mayans, who referenced contacts with star beings from the Pleiades. Which is really interesting because this is an influence that goes back, 1,000 years or more. And so there obviously is some kind of influence going on with us here on planet Earth, more than just oral traditions that have been handed down over the years. Again, like I've said before, whether or not these beings are actually extraterrestrials as we think about them, in a traditional sense, or if they are more akin to spiritual, interdimensional types of beings, it's probably a moot point as far as I'm concerned. Again, my concern with contacts with any of these types of beings is whether or not the information that is coming down to us is completely factual or is geared to us based on the time we live in, our belief systems, and things like that. Though some things do seem to remain consistent throughout the centuries, and the Pleiades and contacts with beings from them seem to be an almost universal source of information for humanity. So I think it's something that we should remain interested in and keep up the research, but again, take any information that comes down to us from these beings as maybe a template, and not or metaphors possibly, and should not be taken possibly with just this considered just absolutely true. There are things that we have to glean from this information. We can't have it spoon fed to us. We have to jump through the hoops, so to speak. In order to properly learn this stuff, no civilization is going to thrive if we're just given information dumps and then expected to do something with it. We have to grow spiritually in order to accept this information for as it is. And with that, Hercules, I'll leave it at that. Let somebody else have a chance to talk.
Hercules, your sound is off. Hercules, your sound is off.
Oh, sorry about that.
There you
Uh,
go.
Thank you very much, Tim. That is a broad overview as always, and you brought up some very interesting points. My belief, and I pursued this information for my entire life, is that uh, things take place within certain belief structures, certain mythologies, and the constellations are only the constellations as viewed through our eyes in whatever culture we're observing them from. So the Pleiades to us is not what the Pleiades actually is. It's what the seven stars we see in the sky and more now with our instruments that we've detected, but it's the seven sisters that gave birth to the mythology. And the Pleiadians, as they're appearing to contactees and to channelers, are very much the Venusians of old during the days of contactees. They even look identical and give the same message. So I intend on pursuing this particular avenue for the next year. So I will definitely be inviting you to those conversations. We're very fortunate that we have the uh, um, the different groups like Unarius and Urantia and the Ashtar Command already having platforms on the show. So I intend on bringing them together to ask these type of questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Hercules. As always, it's a pleasure being with you all.
And now, Paul Dale Roberts. Greetings, Paul. How are you?
Hey, Hercules, how you doing?
Doing great. I'm inviting you to Pantheons of Pop Culture, which is a special I'm having sometime next month. So be prepared to receive that.
Okay, sounds good. Well, tonight we really have a good subject about the Pleiades, and a lot of people they think of these Nordics as beings of light, that they're helping humanity in the spiritual evolution, and maybe they're right. They have these Nordic features with the fair skin, the blue eyes, blonde hair, in which some people interpret as angels. Sometimes people think that these Nordics could possibly be angels from what they read in the Bible. And it was kind of interesting about the Nordics is that they seem to communicate with telepathy or through your dreams. And this has been reported by people who claim to have encountered the Nordics. And I found one story kind of interesting is that this one person who was a witness to a landing of a UFO, and out came these Nordics, and they were wearing uniforms with a seven-pointed star representing the seven sisters of the star cluster Pleiades. I don't know if this is a factual case or not, but that's what they claim, and that's kind of interesting. Um, this is going to probably blow you away, but I live in Elk Grove, which is next to Sacramento, California, and 30 minutes from my house is a town called Lodi. And you're probably familiar with Lodi with the Creedence Clearwater Revival song, Back in Lodi Again. Well, that's the same town. And in the town of Lodi on November 27, 1896, Colonel H.G. Shaw and a friend were on a carriage, and they came up to this one area and they saw a UFO landing. And out from this UFO came two Nordics. And one of the Nordics was carrying something that looked like a glowing egg. Well, Colonel H.G. Shaw totally freaked out and says, let's get on the carriage and let's get out of here. And they took off down the road, and these Nordic beings did not chase after them. But Colonel H.G. Shaw said that he was receiving a message through telepathy, and the Nordic was asking him to please go onto the ship. There was something that they wanted to show them. But he was totally scared, totally freaked out, and said, heck with that, went down the road. And I don't know, but maybe H.G. Shaw and his friend maybe were abducted and they just don't remember it. Because I just don't think those beings allowed them just to go down the road and not chase after them. But that's a very popular story. And it's right here, 30 minutes from my house, Lodi, California. And the town of Lodi, they actually say this was a historic event, that it actually happened. So, and that's something, if you guys ever want to look up, just Google the Lodi UFO incident and you'll see it. It's kind of interesting how all these aliens came from different areas. So you got aliens, according to the Dunkin tribe, that they came from Sirius B. And Sirius B, you can't see with the naked eye, but somehow the Dunkin tribe knew about it. And later on, scientists, astrologers discovered there was a Sirius B. You got the main Sirius star, and then you got Sirius B. You got extraterrestrials for Orion, Zeta Reticuli. I can't pronounce that too well, but Betty, Betty and Barney Hill claim that the aliens that took them came from that star system. And you got the Pleiades and everything else. I had the privilege, I think it was in 2012, of talking to Travis Walton. And you probably remember Travis Walton from the movie Fire in the Sky.
Of course.
He was a very famous abductee. And we got to talking, and he was telling me, because I was trying to set up an interview with him, and then things got so busy, my interview never happened. So, but I did get to talk to him over the telephone, which was cool. And he was telling me about his abduction, which he had told 1 million times to 1 million people. But basically, he saw the Greys, and the Greys were working with the Nordics. And the Nordics placed some type of gas mask thing over his face, and he passed out. But he was totally freaked out with the Greys and everything else. And when the Nordics came and they, with their human-like features, he was able to calm down. And then they knocked him out with some kind of facial mask. So the Nordics seem like they're friendly. They're on our side. We think of them in a higher sense than with, the Greys or whatever. Greys, it seems like people are more frightened of those. But these Nordics who have these human-like features that look angelic, we feel like they're safe to be around. So it's kind of interesting. It's something that probably needs a lot more study, talking to more people who've been abducted or experienced seeing the Nordics. I would like to know more.
As would I, as would we all. Thank you very much. And you provided me with a couple of synchronistic things, which I'll quickly share before we move on. One is we have a Lodi here on the Northeast coast as well. And although it's best known for like its soprano connections, the television show The Sopranos, I did a lot of UFO outer space type of stuff back there in the 80s. So that was the first synchronicity. Then you talked about the Dogon tribe. I'm a Lemnian Greek, and we've been telling people since at least the Roman Empire about our descent from the Argonauts and the Amazons. And I'm still promoting that today. So that hasn't gone away. But the Argonauts at one point ruled the island of Lemnos through their children, which they had with the Amazons. And then they got kicked out, and nobody knows what happened to them. According to lore, though, of the Dogon tribe, the Argonauts went there, the children of the Argonauts, and they mixed in with the local Dogon tribe. So the descendants of the Argonauts are the Dogon. And a lot of their information about the Nomo, Lemnos had a very healthy mer-person population. They were amphibious humans. So there's extensive Lemnian lore, and there's like a couple of mysteries. The Samothracian mysteries were the same as the Lemnian mysteries about these amphibian people in the sea. So the Nomo contain a lot of elements from that Mediterranean lore. So that's the second synchronicity. So thank you for all the information and for the synchronicities.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
And now we go to Olav Phillips. Olav, welcome back. We've missed you.
Thank you. I missed you too, Hercules. Can you hear me okay?
Hear you perfectly. Your booming voice is booming loudly.
All right. No, the Pleiadians, it's a very interesting thing. I remember when I went to East Seti out by Mount Adams, and a lot of people said I didn't see them myself, but I was over
Olav,
and over. Yes?
you blanked out for a few seconds. That was your turn, right?
Oh,
Before now you're blanking out.
oh, sorry. So, a lot of people claimed at East Seti to see the beam ships, over and over and over again. And it was, I kept thinking to myself, this Pleiadian thing, I mean, it's been around for so long, but there's got to be something to it, whether you believe in Billy Meyer or not, and the stories that he told. Even Rudolf Steiner, said that he believed that human consciousness evolution, the evolution of human consciousness, was deeply rooted in a connection to the Pleiades, right? And when you look at as Tim was saying, when you look at the past, it's everywhere. The Sumerians and the Akkadians, Mulmul, the stars of the gods, they associated the Pleiades with travelers from the stars, and fate, what we would call the Norns, right? You talked about the Greeks, the Maori, the Matariki, right? This is a place of where the spirits go when you die, right? Again, this idea that there's this star cluster that everybody seems to point at, and it has some kind of connection to humanity, whether it's spirits going there or evolution of consciousness, or it's where the gods came from, these powerful beings, right? The Aztecs, they saw that the Pleiades as part of their cycle of destruction and rebirth. Every 52 years or so, when the Pleiades was at the height of the zenith, they would perform the new fire ceremony, right, which was a consecration of rebirth, and it was very important to their culture. But I think one of the more interesting ones was the Japanese, that they knew it as Subaru. So every time you see a Subaru driving around, right, that is what the Pleiades was known to as by the Japanese. And they again saw it as this place in the sky that embodied that sense of unity, and it had a very deep cosmic influence on the people. And I think that with the Pleiades, again, people fixate on Billy Meyer, but much like you talked about with the Dogon, you talked about with the Tim talked about with the Hopi, and you talked about with the Greeks, right? That there's always this connection back to the Pleiades about some kind of human evolvement and this like cosmic influence in humans, like this innate cosmic influence in humans, that it affects us, and that it steers us, it guides us. The Maori, they believed that their dead went there. The Japanese believed that it brought them unity and it guided them. The Aztecs saw it as the Aztecs and the Maya, they saw it as a place of rebirth, right? And that goes again to theosophy, right? The Pleiades is the cosmic heart center and the home of spiritual intelligence, right? These are very consistent. Steiner talks about the human spiritual evolution again, coming from the Pleiades. The thing that's interesting is that no matter how far back you go, and when we talk about the Akkadians and the Sumerians, you're talking about thousands and thousands of years. You're talking about 4,000 years, right? So there has to be something interesting there and to it. If for the last 4,000 years, from the Akkadians and Sumerians on, we all, every culture has a notion of the Pleiades being this thing, this source of guidance, this source of love and harmony, this source of rebirth and renewal. Nobody's perfect, right? We all make mistakes. And as a culture, we make mistakes. As a species, we make mistakes. But all these cultures, I mean, I named off what, 5 without even trying. All these cultures and at least 2 spiritual movements go back to the Pleiades to say, okay, we as a species have made a mistake. We as a culture have made a mistake. But these ascended masters or these spiritual beings that exist in the Pleiades are coming back to us to help us fix our mistakes. And they acknowledge that we're human and we do good and we do bad. But the source of that guidance appears to always be the Pleiades. And it means so much in Japan that I live in the mountains, right? I got Subarus everywhere, right? So now every time I see a Subaru, it meant so much to them culturally, they named a car company after it. That says something, right?
Yes, definitely. And I will never see a Subaru again without thinking of this information.
Cosmic influence. But you know what I mean? I looked at all these different cultures and they all come back to the Pleiades for guidance, spiritual guidance, right? For spiritual evolution, for rebirth and renewal. Because if you think about it, right, most cultures have a notion that you die and there's some kind of rebirth or renewal. When you die, you go to heaven. Well, it's transformational. That is about a rebirth. If you're a Judeo-Christian, you go to heaven, right? Or even a Native American and you go to their version of heaven. Or you're a Maori, or you're an Egyptian. We have Michael on, he'll talk about the Egyptians. All these ideas is that you go to this place, you're judged, you're found worthy, and then you're renewed. In some cases, you return to the earth. In some cases, you stay in this nirvanic place. But the act of entering heaven, or whatever your concept of heaven is essentially a transformation, a rebirth and renewal of you as a pure spirit energy. So I thought that was crazy.
That is crazy.
Right?
And
Hey, can I say something to Olaf real
yeah,
quick?
Sure.
Okay, Olaf, that's kind of interesting about the Subaru. And now every time I see a Subaru, I'm gonna think of the 7 stars. But
and it has all 6 stars. It has all the stars in the logo.
Wow. Okay. And now also too, when I look at Tesla, I think of the man, Nikola Tesla.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's the importance of it. And it all kind of connects to things extraterrestrial.
Yes. And that's the part that I found really bizarre is that you'd think between the Maya and the Aztecs and the Japanese, the ancient Japanese, right? There's a huge delta there. There's a massive ocean, but their notions are similar. Unity, rebirth, a positive cosmic influence. So I think that a lot more study. I think we need to stop worrying about Billy Meyer, and if you believe in Meyer's stuff, Go believe in Meyer stuff. But I think we need to put more energy into trying to understand and map out the more global importance of the Pleiades in ancient times as it transitions into modern times. So that's my presentation, Hercules. I hope you enjoyed
Thank you. That is
it.
an awesome presentation, and you built on everything that other people said, and then took it to a whole new level. What I want to add about Billy Meyer. Billy Meyer's initial contact was Semjace, which I might not be pronouncing correctly, who was not unique to Billy Meyer. Semjace appeared to other contactees before Billy Meyer. And Billy Meyer later claimed that the Pleiadians didn't call themselves Pleiadians, they called themselves Pleiadians, and that everybody who
Right.
was conveying Pleiadian information was, I think Pleiadians comes from plagiarize, uh, plagiarizing Billy Meyer. But
Probably true.
Jasa was the name of the watcher of the fallen angels. So the name itself is very, very old. And if you look at ufology, especially during the contact era, the names of some of the people that are talking, the entities talking, can be found in really hoary mythologies dusty with age.
Yes. Very true. Very true. And LaViolette talks about things like that, right? If you ever read Paul LaViolette, he tries to take these ancient myths and ancient systems and map them into modern times. And I think we need to apply that same systems theory method that LaViolette used for some of his work about the pulsars and other stuff. I think we need to apply the same thing to the Pleiades, because there is something there. There's something interesting there. So I don't want to take any more of anybody's time.
Oh, thank you. It was time well spent. Would you like to help me on that journey? I'm going to take a journey. I'm going to do something very different with Hercules and the Space Gods this coming year. We have several spiritual cosmic organizations that we've been in dialogue with and interacted with, that I've done things with. So I really want that dialogue to continue and to expand, because each of them is doing things that they're not aware of, very old things that I learned because I'm Greek and I went to Greek parochial school and then continued my studies. So there's all sorts of lore that they're not aware of its origins. Like, for instance, Space Gods Speak, which is a very important book to me. It's not very well written, and it's a typical channeled material, not of the highest quality. But the premise that they put together, ridiculous as it sounds, is ancient. And I don't think the author knew that it was ancient, because this information wasn't as readily available then as it is now, and several other pieces of information too. So there's something there, and I've shared many times in these podcasts that something is there, something responds. I don't think it responds fully, or sometimes it's kind of slippery with the truth, but there is something there. And I'll give one quick example, then we'll pass on to Setna, Khamuast. I once in a meditation got a message from Zeus. So again, I'm not impressed, with the names of spirits to communicate, because anybody could say that they're anybody or anything. But Zeus gave me a message. So I put it on the shelf inside my mind and figured I'd get back to it. Within a few days, Michael Khamuast and Michael Dunkin, who are both here, were among a handful of people who called me, and in conversation or by having gotten a direct message from Zeus, shared the message with me. So that told me that I can't leave it on the shelf and go back to it whenever I have time. And I considered the message and listened and, took some action. And it wasn't anything cosmic or spiritual. I wasn't the Messiah or chosen one or anything like that. It was about fatherhood. So, there were things about fatherhood that Zeus wanted to pass to me from one father to another. It was pretty practical and mind-blowingly insightful. And it wasn't pleasant to contemplate, but it was useful. So I thank both Michaels who are here for that information, and the people who aren't here that also shared messages from Zeus or in conversation through this information at me. But see, there's something there, and it identified itself as Zeus to the people who conveyed the message as Zeus. And it answers. but again, that's a conversation for another day. That's way beyond the scope of today's inquiry into the Pleiadians. And now onward to Setna Khamuast of Kemet, also known as Michael K. Waterman. Greetings, Michael.
Hi, guys. I'm glad I'm still here. I've been having some technical problems. I don't know what that was. Maybe it was the Pleiades checking in. Um, I guess you want me to take things from my ancient point of view. We have a goddess in Egypt whose name is Shasta or Shasette. Shasta, like the old soda. You talk about the Subaru. Shasta is a goddess that carries on her head a seven-pointed star. And they are the Pleiades. And she's considered, I guess, the queen from outer space, the queen of the Pleiades. And her husband is Thoth, Tehute, she is the goddess of numbers. He is the god of language. And they were supposedly from the area, and they came and they brought us, Earth, numbers and languages. The interesting thing is that there is in Mexico and in Peru a goddess like looks like this that has a crown that has 7 points on it. Um, and there's also the Guardians, and the Guardians are the four sons of Horus, and it would also be seven because you've got Horus's brother Anubis, Horus's wife Hathor, Horus himself, and the four sons, which are Imset, Hapi, Kebsenuf, and Duabutep. Now that's a mouthful, but they are the canopic jar gods. They watch over the body as it transitions into its next dimension. And by the side of these beings is the king and queen of language and numbers and civilization. This is what they were supposedly brought. The other thing that comes from the Pleiades is the goddess Selket. Selket is a goddess that protected Isis when she was giving birth to Horus. But the thing that's amazing about her is she surrounded Isis in the reeds by splitting herself into seven goddesses. Seven, and each one wore a scorpion on her head. So that is the zodiac sign Scorpio, which, Tim, is polarity opposite Taurus. Now we're in Taurus. We're almost done with Taurus. Now we're going to move from Taurus into Gemini as we move into the I think it's the 21st or 22nd um, of May, the merry month of May. So it's interesting too, because this is when Isis supposedly gave birth to Horus. So Selket, the scorpion goddess, is now in control of things. And she also rules in October over Scorpio. Now, one other thing I'm going to mention, in 1982, my parents had moved to Florida from Long Island in 1979. In 1982, my dad got sick and I had to go down and take care of things for the family. And I was walking my mother's dog out into a field that was all cleared, and I heard rustling in the bushes. And what appeared to me was basically a Nordic woman wearing a silver, very tight silver kind of a bodysuit. And she had kind of a ponytail coming out of the top of her skull cap, which kind of looked like Barbara Eden and Jeannie, or Madonna from the girly show. This sort of thing that stuck up. But she was blonde. She was beautiful. She had silver shadow over her eyes. I'm a makeup artist, so I'm going to notice things like that. And she told me telepathically that she was a gardener and she was taking samples from the area in Florida because she knew this was an area that was just cleared and that there would be seeds and things that she could take without disturbing the environment. And she said, please don't let me frighten you. She was about 7 feet tall. And she was blonde and very interesting. And she said, we are from the Pleiades, which you call the Pleiades. And she said, she was the one I saw all these decades in that flying chandelier I always talk about. And she said that was hers. And that she'd been watching me since I was a child. She said, because I had extraordinary psychic abilities and things. I do, that is my job. That's my work. My company is called Bona Wizard. You know that I have certain psychic gifts. I do mediumship. I do connections with different things. And as a trans medium, I did connect with other spirits from other dimensions and other, I'll say, other parts of the universe. So she enhanced that with me by talking to me. Her energy kind of connected with me. There was kind of a orangey gold light around her. I looked at it as an aura, but it might have been just a protective shield. I'm not sure, but I knew that that energy was. I was safe because she was there. She meant me no harm. She wasn't. She knew that I wasn't going to bother her. My dog was frightened. She was very nervous and she hid behind my legs. But once the being, goddess, captain of the ship, reassured me that everything was okay. And the dog actually, I believe, felt the telepathic message. She calmed down, the dog, her name is Ginger. She calmed down and we went on our merry way. I'd never seen her since after that, but I did see a bright, bright light over that particular area. It wasn't a helicopter, it was two, I don't know, too white, blue and too big. You know, it was as if somebody had taken, like, you're from California, you guys, like one of those old beams they used to do during a Hollywood premiere when they would flash things back and forth. That was how bright the light was. And it shone from wherever she was. And I felt as though I was being followed for many, many years. And sometimes when I look out the window, my bedroom window here in Savannah, I still see that light, like I'm being watched or protected, and I feel very safe because that's around.
Wow. And more synchronicities abound. I shared this also. I am following the blue light. The blue light's been popping up a lot lately in a lot of my inquiries and conversations. So that is something we'll be following, especially with Michael Duncan, who's next. And I have actually interacted with Sir Ket back in the 90s. And it was so profound that I got the scorpion tattooed on my arm.
Well, Sorket is this goddess here. I don't know if you guys can see her. I'll put her against the black that I'm wearing. She is the most famous of all the funerary goddesses, the protective goddesses from the tomb of Tutankhamun, or Tutankhamun, because she was the one that was considered the most beautiful. The odd thing is, all the goddesses in that tomb look exactly the same except for their crowns. But for some reason, everybody resonates towards Selkit because I believe she does give out protection and knowledge.
And her power dates before Egypt to the pre-dynastic period when there were scorpions, kings, and folk kings.
Well, the first pharaoh, we know the first pharaoh who was Djoser, um, he was really the Scorpion King. That was his name. And that's why that silly movie came out that was just terrible with The Rock. They were trying to bring some of that in about, but and I had to laugh because they used the other name, Memnet or something, Memnoch or whatever, and he's an Assyrian king, Memnoch, and had nothing to do with Egypt. And they called him they called him an Arcadian, and that's nowhere near Egypt, so I don't know where they got that.
Creative license.
Oh, definitely. That's Hollywood, right?
And I
Well,
like
I'm more looking forward to reality at this moment, though.
good thing. Thank you very much, Setna. As always, your wisdom is presented in a lively way and sheds light on a lot of different things. I thank you, my friend.
You're most welcome, guys.
And now, last but not least, we have Michael Duncan. Michael Duncan, greetings and welcome.
Stuck in Lodi again. Is that the Creedence Clearwater song that you're talking about?
Yes, yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, I know that. I know the tune. Hey, thank you, Hercules, for the opportunity to be here, and thank you everybody for shedding a little bit more light on the Pleiadians and your experiences. I really appreciate that. I really didn't. I really haven't delved. Well, I didn't delve into the Pleiadians until we met a gentleman from the Urantia book community. His name was Gerald Farley. He introduced my wife Diane and I to the concept of the Pleiadians, and that was a wonderful experience for us to explore that. And since that time, we've been really trying to find parallels in the Urantia book to the Pleiadians. And that's what I want to focus on a little bit in my presentation here. And Hercules, I just wanted to say one thing. You were talking about the color blue. Well, another name, or like the nickname for the Urantia book, is the Big Blue Book, because the cover is blue. It's a hardcover, softcover blue. So it's the Big Blue Book.
Yet another synchronicity. Awesome. Today's synchronicity day.
Yeah. Where's Sting when you need him? Okay. So I wanted to focus on the terraforming aspect of the Pleiadians and civilization development of the Pleiadians, and how they used their skills in terraforming to kind of form the Pleiades stars in the first place in civilization. And I wanted to highlight the parallels of their work in the Urantia book. So first I wanted to start with saying that the Urantia book was written in 1950, well, not written, but I mean it was published in 1955 in Chicago, Illinois. I feel there are a couple different narrative stories, but I feel it was given to the nieces and nephews of John Harvey Kellogg, who of course has his mentorship from Ellen G. White, who started the Seventh-day Adventists, whose mentor was William Miller of the Millerites. And I feel that's the lineage for the Urantia book. But anyway, Ellen G. White went to different worlds, and she talked to the Lord, and she talked to a number of different entities throughout her life, shared that with John Harvey Kellogg, and I believe the two of them wrote the Urantia book, most of the Urantia book. There's been a lot added. But anyway, in paper 36, there's the story or the narrative of the life carriers. And regarding terraforming, I just wanted to read just a tiny bit here from paper 36, the life carriers. A life does not originate spontaneously. Life is constructed according to plans formulated by the unrevealed architects of being, and appears on the inhabited planets either by direct importation or as a result of the operations of the life carriers of the local universes. These carriers of life are among the most interesting and versatile of the diverse family of universe sons. They are entrusted with designing and carrying creature life to the planetary spheres. And after planting this life on such new worlds, they remain there for long periods to foster its development. And then I wanted to jump down a little bit to chapter 1 of paper 36. The life carriers are the offspring of three pre-existent personalities: the creator son, whom my wife and I know as Zeus; the universe mother spirit, whom my wife and I know as Hera; and by designation, one of the three ancients of days, presiding over the destinies of the super universe concerned. And just to let you know, our super universe is the seventh and most undeveloped, according to the Urantia book, super universe of Orvanton. These ancients of days, who alone can decree the extinction of intelligent life, participate in the creation of the life carriers, who are entrusted with establishing physical life on the evolving worlds. They are directed by the long-determining trio consisting of Gabriel, whom my wife and I know as Hephaestus, son of Zeus and Hera, the father Melchizedek, and Nambia, the original and firstborn life carrier of Nebnon. And then regarding life transplantation, they reiterate again, life does not spontaneously appear in universes. The life carriers must initiate it on the barren planets. They are the carriers, disseminators, and guardians of life as it appears on the evolutionary worlds of space. All life of the order and forms known on Urantia, which is the name that is given to our Earth, arises with these suns, though not all forms of planetary life are existent on Urantia. So, I mean, as far as like terraforming and planting life, that's my parallel so far that I found in the Urantia book. So, and then I also wanted to mention that there are a number of other different beings, celestial beings, I guess you could say, that are in the local universe under Zeus and Hera that are involved in civilization development. So there are local universe celestials called material sons and daughters. We might know them as Adams and Eves. So according to the Urantia book, when a humanity, so to speak, on a particular planet is ready, is consciously ready, you know, with in their consciousness, ready to develop to the next level, then Gabriel sends out, or another name for Gabriel is the bright and morning star. They're sent to a planet to perform upstepping. And what these Adams and Eves do is they come from their constellation centers, or like the headquarters of the constellation, which consists of about 100,000 inhabitable planets. And then they go to these worlds and they upstep these civilizations. I mean, to, you know, develop the civilization, these humanities. And it's interesting, guys, because when you read about the Adams and the Eves that come from these constellations, you find that these Adams and Eves, they are 8 to 10 feet tall. And this is in the Urantia book. And they glow with violet light. And they're vegetarians. They don't eat meat. So what they do is they upstep the races educationally, but they also mix with the races, and they infuse the developing races with violet blood, the violet blood. So they're actually, you know, they're getting together with the humans, right? And they're upstepping them biologically, educationally, and so on and so forth. So I just thought that was interesting. When you read about the especially the three races of the Pleiades and how they performed, or they upstepped, you know, their new planets, I guess, of the Pleiades. Then they're doing it on other different worlds, including our world of Urantia, through the life carriers and through the material sons and daughters, or the Adams and Eves. And I just wanted to put this out there. I don't know if it's like if it's correct or not, but I don't know. I just seem to think that our constellation, where our planet fits into, our constellation of 100,000 inhabitable planets, I think our constellation of Norlashadek might be the Pleiades.
Wow.
That's what I'm getting.
That is an awesome theory, and you presented enough to make it phenomenally intriguing. and I definitely want to pursue that in another show. And thank you, Michael. It's glad to have you back. I'm glad to have you back as well. It's been quite a while.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. A lot of changes for me in my life, and I really appreciate the opportunity, Hercules, to to be with everybody and have some fun too. And you guys are incredible. You've got incredible experiences, and you just know so much. And it's a real learning. It's a learning experience for me too. Appreciate that.
And I want the work that you and Diane did to be preserved. And in my small way, the only thing I can do is provide you with a platform. So if you want every month or every other month to share the information you've gathered and share your progress on the books that you're writing, I'd greatly be honored to host it.
Well, thanks, Hercules. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. Thanks.
And we've reached the end of today's discussion, and wow, what a discussion it was. I am going to be branching off from Hercules Space Gods, so we're going to focus a little bit more on the different extraterrestrial groups that we've learned about. We started doing that a little bit with the Lion people of Lyra. We started doing that a little bit with the Blue people, the enigmatic Blue people, and now I'm going to start doing it with the Pleiadians. So in the months ahead, there'll be more focus on each of these groups, which will pick up from where we currently left the topic, and everyone to continue with the topic if they so choose. I will let you know when it's coming. So we'll go backwards around for contact information. Michael, how can people contact you?
Yes. So I have an email address. It's Michael Dunkin, Dunkin, like Dunkin' Donuts without the apostrophe. Michael Dunkin1 at hotmail.com. I have over 130 videos on our YouTube channel, Michael and Diane Dunkin. That's 2 N's for Diane, regarding our artwork, music, and our celestial team meetings with Zeus and Hera and Maitreya and others. And also, if you just Google my name, Reverend Michael Dunkin, you'll find my 5 albums and EP of Urantia Book inspired songs, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon. I just put out a new compilation album called The Glory of Love. Actually, no, it's called Glory of Love is one of the singles. It's called Closer to God. So check that out, Reverend Michael Dunkin. Thanks. Oh, and by the way, I'm writing a book, as you mentioned, called The League of Azure Blue Angels. It should be out within the next couple months. Thanks, Hercules.
So when it comes out, we'll be glad to go on it.
All right, thanks.
My pleasure. Next we go to Setna Khamuast of Kemet, aka Michael K. Waterman.
So thank you, everybody, for allowing me to be in this lovely company. You can reach me at Michael K. Waterman on Facebook. You can reach me on Phono Wizard on Facebook, or you can get me at the Perniteru Temple, which is where I am right now, as you can see, on Facebook or on Instagram. You can also get me by phone if you wish. 516-650-3691. It's my old Long Island number. However, I have too many contacts to change my phone number, so I didn't. Or you can just, reach me through Hercules, and I'm here. If you have any questions about my ancient practices, I would be delighted to help you. Thank you.
Thank you. Olav Phillips, how can people find you and interact with you?
Well, I'm Olav Phillips on Facebook. I'm easy to find. Captain Tiki Show on Instagram. We have a radio show every Thursday, 10 p.m. Pacific to 12 a.m. Pacific on kad-lp.org, called the Enigma Hour. You can find us on Apple Podcasts as well. And obviously, you can find me through Hercules. He always seems to know how to get me at the right time. But yeah, that's it. And I look forward to speaking with everybody. And thank you very much for letting me rejoin again after quite a long time. And I am just absolutely honored to be among such amazing researchers and people. So you've all helped me in some way or another, and I appreciate you all.
And we appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to further adventures, be they from some other plane. Thanks, Olaf. Paul Dale Roberts.
Hercules, thank you for having me on the show. Wonderful panel you have there. Very intelligent, very knowledgeable. I I was just stunned hearing all the stories. But anyway, to reach me, real simple, paranormal hotline, 916-203-7503. If you're in the greater Sacramento area and you need something investigated that has to do with the paranormal, I'm your man. And email jasmaonline@gmail.com. And if the most easiest way sometimes to get a hold of me is just to Google my name, Paul Dale Roberts, and you'll find my telephone number and my email address right on my articles when my articles pop up on Google. Thank you, Google.
And thank you, Paul. You're awesome. Last but not least, Tim Swartz, who's very humble. He never shares the fact that he's the co-host of a podcast that everybody's heard of. I walk in town, which is less and less these days. People tell me about the time they heard me on a Paracast. So
Well, thank you, Hercules. Yeah, I'm the co-host on the Paracast with Gene Steinberg, and you can listen to it practically on any of the major and not so major streaming platforms, Apple, Spotify, all of them. Just look for the Paracast with Gene Steinberg, and you'll be able to hear it. Our most recent book, which Hercules, Paul, and Michael all have chapters in, is called Weird Time, Exploring the Mysteries of Time and Space. And you can find out more about it, as well as a way to contact all the authors, including myself, if you so desire. And the website is weirdtimebook.com. And I also want to say that I was on the most recent episode of History's Greatest Mysteries, which is seen on the History Channel Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. That was episode 13. It ran for the first time last Monday, and it's called The Missing Tesla Papers. So I hope that anybody interested will take a look at it.
we certainly will. You were also on Ancient Aliens not too long ago as well.
I've recorded a couple of episodes that haven't aired yet. The last time I was on Ancient Aliens was like 2013. So, but they do repeat that interview. They'll take snippets out of it and run it as new. So yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Tim, and thank you very much to everybody. You're awesome individuals. I'm honored and I'm blessed to know you, and I look forward to our future interactions and the recounting of all our cosmic adventures. Good night, and again, thanks again.
Blessings to all. Take care.
Good night. God bless.
Thank you. God bless.
Good night.
Night.